In some of the more recent Mario Party games, there is a new type of minigame called boss battle minigames. But these are not your typical run-of-the-mill boss battles where one player tries to work to defeat the boss. Instead, these are minigames where multiple players go up against the boss, damaging it and trying to get the most points possible before the boss is defeated. Players score points when they land hits on the boss and lose points whenever they fumble or when the boss hits them. Whoever has the most points at the end wins. Each boss has two phases, and the second phase starts when the boss reaches half its health. That's when the boss gives each player a harder time in general, and whoever is lucky enough to land the final blow on the boss gets a special bonus, which sometimes can mean the difference in placing amongst the players. This type of boss battle was introduced in Mario Party 9 for the Nintendo Wii, and there are two bosses to each of the game's boards. A sub-boss at the midway point of each board, and a main boss at the end of each board. It came back again in Mario Party 10 on the Wii U with the same format. Finally, it came back one more time in Mario Party Star Rush on the 3DS. Before we start, it's fair to warn you that I will be screaming and ranting sometimes, and that may disturb some viewers. You've been warned. Okay, now let's talk more about this type of boss battle and why it's a terrible concept. To do this, let's first go over what a typical boss battle is and the main concept of a boss battle. The idea of a boss battle is a party of one or more people, but usually one person playing as a certain character or characters, going up against an AI-controlled being of some kind, which is the boss, of course. The key and purpose of the boss battle is for the person controlling the character to take down the boss. If there are multiple playable characters, then the purpose is for all of them to work together to defeat the boss. There are countless examples of a single player against the boss, and there's also cases where multiple players work together to beat the boss. I'll talk more about those later. The purpose of a boss battle is to defeat the boss, and in doing so, the player or players are victorious, results varying. Now, the boss battles of Mario Parties 9, 10, and Star Rush, however, are all about 2 to 4 players competing against each other to see who can end up scoring the most points against the boss. The boss battles are not even about taking down the boss. They're about trying to deal the most damage to the boss with the least amount of mistakes to it. It's not even a question of whether the boss is gonna go down. The boss is going to go down anyway. That's part of the design. Nobody even appreciates the fact that the boss goes down. They only appreciate the fact that they got the most points. That's the system. That's the design. That's how it works. The point that I'm trying to make is that these are not even real boss battles. These are just 4-player minigames where everybody is trying to take down the boss and competing with each other that way. I say they're not even considered boss battles, and yet the Mario Party game calls them boss battles just because everybody's going up against the boss. But they are really competing against each other to see who can do the most damage to the boss. Defeating the boss doesn't mean squat, except that the minigame comes to an end. That's it! That's literally it! The players are not the victim like in a normal boss battle. The boss is. The boss is the one that suffers at the hands of the 4 players competing against each other trying to topple it just for superstardom. Sure, it looks like the boss is antagonizing the players, but when you really think about it, it's the players who are antagonizing the boss. It's the players taking advantage of the boss to score points. The boss is not even a real boss, just an accessory, a tool, something for players to use and take advantage of. This completely defeats the purpose and kills the idea of these minigames even being considered boss battles in the first place. These are nothing more than regular minigames that just happen to be designed like boss battles when they're not. These boss battles aren't even designed for the boss itself to be able to win them. They're designed so that the boss is the victim. The boss is going to go down anyway. The boss is doomed. That's the way these minigames are designed. They are designed for the boss to lose, and all that matters is how the players score against each other. And it's not even a design that we can even call a boss battle. It's the design of just another type of Mario Party minigame with its own category and its own label. This is not the general idea of a boss battle. The general idea of a boss battle is to be able to take down the boss at all. And the victory of a boss battle doesn't come from who can do it best. It's being able to do it at all. It's going to happen anyway with these so-called boss battle minigames. Players are supposed to work together to defeat the boss, and it should not matter who does the best job doing it. If everybody works together to beat the boss against the very possible odds that the boss could win, then that makes you appreciate it. But if the boss has no chance and all the players are competing against each other, then it doesn't matter. It's not even a real boss battle. The overall main idea and concept of these types of boss battles on its own is bad enough, but when you actually get to the minigames themselves, it's even worse, because some of these minigames deviate from the already terrible concept into something even worse. I'm not even kidding, I tried them all myself, and there are a few minigames that I absolutely hated. Now that we've gone over why this type of boss battle is flawed, and why the design of this boss battle is not even considered to be a real boss battle, let's go over the minigames themselves. We will start with Mario Party 9's boss battles, the first Mario Party game to give us this awful concept. The Lakitu boss fight is pretty basic. Everybody goes around hitting blocks trying to damage the boss, or they get damaged themselves. This is one of the most basic ideas of this terrible concept, and that's fine since it is the very first one. So this minigame, within its own concept, is just right. The Wiggler boss is another fine example of this basic concept that I hate so much. The Womp boss is actually the first boss battle I didn't like because of how it's very luck-based. The idea here is to outwit your opponents and not get crushed by the Womp, or else you'll be the only one who doesn't get to deal damage. King Babomb is even worse when it comes to luck though. Basically, you throw bombs at King Babomb, and if 2 or more people get the same bomb, nobody gets it. And if there's only 2 players, King Babomb will randomly take away one of the bigger bombs to even it out. This one feels even more based on luck than the Womp minigame, but it's only my second least favorite boss battle minigame. The Dry Bones boss battle minigame is a test of memory and quick skills. You need to memorize which card is correct, and you need to get to that card before your opponents can. King Boo is like those Match 3 games that you find on the App Store on your phone. It's not spectacular, but I find this minigame much more fun than Candy Crush Saga. This cheap minigame, I did not like the motion controls very much, but in time I did get used to it and I did win, so it's okay. This blooper minigame is fine enough, and the way the blooper shoots urchins at the players feels pretty balanced for the most part, and of course there's the ink, which reminds me of Mario Kart. So yeah, this minigame is just right. This giant spike minigame feels a little too basic, but as long as you have quick enough reflexes and you pick the correct hammer, you're good. This chain chomp boss battle minigame is basically a Mitakuji, or ghost leg. It's a type of minigame that Nintendo uses a lot. The first time they used it was for the pipe maze minigame in Mario Party 1. I hate this one! I hate this Bowser Jr. minigame. I hate it so much! It's entirely luck-based. You roll a die and then you have to hope to get a multiple of 3 just to get the opportunity to hit Bowser Jr. That's the design! That's the way this minigame is designed! I hate it! I hate it so much! It's luck! It's actually worse than the Womp and King Babomb minigames! And then we get to Bowser. No surprise there. Basically, Bowser throws a bunch of dice at you, and you're supposed to pick up the dice and make sure that as many of these dice as possible land with your face upwards. The more live dice with your character's face on them, the more you score. And the more dice with Bowser's face on them, the more Bowser can attack. These next 2 minigames aren't even real boss battles, and yet Mario Party 9 lists them under the boss battle category. What's up with that? I'm not kidding, these are not even real boss battles. These are just minigames where you collect bananas. That's what they are, banana collecting minigames, not actual boss battles. First one, you collect bananas with Diddy Kongs going from barrel to barrel, and the second one, you collect bananas with Donkey Kong going from barrel to barrel. I don't see any differences there besides the layout and the way it's designed. Okay, that was all the boss battle minigames for Mario Party 9. Or should I say, all the minigames from Mario Party 9 that look like boss battles but aren't really. Are you enjoying this video so far? If you are, and you agree with me, hit that subscribe button for more. The boss battles for Mario Party 10 are even more insulting for the most part, not necessarily because of the design, but because many of the bosses here are just giant versions of regular, generic Super Mario enemies. The first one, the giant Goomba. Basically, you have to jump on the Goomba's head as many times as you can while avoiding waddle wings, and you can only jump on the Goomba's head up to 3 times before you have to climb the ladder to do it again. Petey Piranha is decent considering he's not a giant version of a generic enemy. Basically, you throw bombs at him and you have to make sure he does not swallow any or he will spit them back out at you. The one with the giant sledge bro is, well, it's basically the same as the Dry Bones one and the Spike one from Mario Party 9. King Boo, you have to jump across platforms to get to the switches, and you need to be careful with the red platforms. I like the match 3 concept a little better, but actually I don't mind this one. This one's okay too. The Cheap Chomp one is a lot like the Womp one from Mario Party 9, where basically the boss plays roulette with all the players and whoever's unlucky enough gets chomped and they lose points. But at least the player who gets chomped doesn't get the penalty of not being able to score at all. This minigame against the giant blooper is better than the one from Mario Party 9, really. I like it. It's very good. It's much better than the one from Mario Party 9. More or less. The giant Monty Mole is basically a maze where you have to get through the maze as quickly as possible, and sometimes players can have an advantage based on where they come out and where they start in the maze. I'm not kidding, based on where each player starts, sometimes one player will be able to finish the maze before the other. That's called having an advantage. Not really fair. Not very well designed. The giant Kamek minigame looks pretty beautiful, and the idea of firing rockets at giant Kamek, it's nice, you know? It's very nice. I like it. I really like it. I was expecting the second to last boss of Mario Party 10 to be Bowser Jr., but it wasn't. It was a giant Mecha Koopa. A giant Mecha Koopa! That's the second to last boss of Mario Party 10. A giant Mecha Koopa, not Bowser Jr., but a giant Mecha Koopa.
No! No! Does not compute! Does not compute! It does not compute!
And as expected, Bowser is the final boss in Mario Party 10, and this is actually one of the more fun boss battle minigames of Mario Party 10. I really enjoyed this one. Basically, everybody gets a tank and they have to fire shots at Bowser. Now, it does get a little repetitive at first, but what I really love about this boss, what I find to be most spectacular about this boss is the second half. The second half of this particular boss fight is awesome! Bowser gets knocked into the lava and turns into Dry Bowser, and he also becomes huge! This phase of the boss fight is so much more epic and so much better than the first. Seriously, I love it! I love it! It's so awesome! It's so epic! It's amazing! I love it so much! As terrible as this boss battle concept is, Nintendo really went all out with this one. Kudos to them for it. Okay, now we come to the boss battle minigames of Mario Party Star Rush. Some of these boss battle minigames are insulting. Mario Party Star Rush was already a terrible game in general, but these boss battles are just a part of it. This first minigame involves taking apples from this giant Goomba, getting them past the smaller Goombas and into the basket. What the heck? This isn't even a real boss fight. This is just an apple picking minigame. Basically, you just pick apples. You don't even fight the boss. You don't even fight the boss directly. The giant Goomba spends the entire first phase asleep, and then on the second half, it's awake, and you have to try to take the apples without the giant Goomba hitting you. That's not even a real boss battle. That's just an apple collecting minigame. That's basically it. This is an apple collecting minigame. Not even an apple collecting boss battle. Just a regular apple collecting minigame. This next minigame pays homage to Super Mario 3D Land and 3D World, where you basically shine lights at King Boo, which means you go back to damaging the boss. That's right. In this minigame, you actually damage the boss to continue, and that's good. That's good. It's good to see that come back after a stupid apple collecting minigame. This whack-a-mole minigame, where you have to hit the real Monty Mole amongst a bunch of false ones, it's okay. I like that you can hit other players, and the AI will never try to hit you. This King Bob-omb minigame where you load bombs into a cannon to hurt King Bob-omb, it's okay. I do like it better than the one from Mario Party 9, but I still hate the idea that everybody's competing against each other. You would think going around collecting shells to hit Petey Piranha with is more fun than hitting Petey Piranha with bombs while standing still. And, well, to be honest, it's pick your poison. I do not like this minigame. I do not like this blooper minigame. This isn't even a real boss battle. Just like the apple collecting minigame with the giant Goomba, this is just a musical minigame involving bloopers and the giant blooper as the composer. It's basically a rhythm minigame with a bunch of beach balls, not even a real boss battle minigame where you have to defeat the giant blooper. I would have way more fun battling the giant blooper than I ever would playing a rhythm minigame with it. Really. This Dry Bones minigame where you can actually hurt Dry Bones is actually pretty fun. It's a lot like any minigame where you have to hit buttons to hit the pump. Like the one where you have to blow up a giant Bowser balloon in Mario Party 1. The trick here is that Dry Bones will throw boomerang bones at you, and you have to avoid them while you ground pound. And I feel like that makes this minigame very fun. Like you have to time your jumps ahead of time, depending on which way the boomerang bone goes. This Kamek minigame with the conveyor belt is okay, but unfortunately it recycles the same card concept from the Dry Bones minigame in Mario Party 9 and the Giant Sledge Bro in Mario Party 10. This Bowser Jr. minigame where you have to avoid Bowser Jr. and hit all the buttons on the floor. I like it. I really like it. So much more fun than the one from Mario Party 9. Why couldn't have Nintendo used this minigame for Mario Party 9's Bowser Jr. boss battle instead? I would have appreciated that. It would have been great. I would have loved it. Interestingly enough, Bowser gets not one, not two, but 3 boss battle minigames in Mario Party Star Rush. In the first one, you go along a course delivering a bomb to Bowser, and you have to be the first one to get the Mega Mushroom to deal the most damage. I like that. It's fun. In the second minigame, you have to hit the blocks and hope to get the lightning bolt in order to damage Bowser, and if you get the banana peel, you'll summon a banana peel which you can slip on. I like the first Bowser minigame better. The third Bowser minigame is fun. I love it. I really like it. I really love this one. Basically, you have to mash A in order to shoot rockets at Bowser and damage him. And whenever Bowser fires at you, you have to use your shield by pressing B. The reason that this is such a great concept is because it's very similar to the Monster Manor Street Pass minigame on the 3DS, which has a very similar concept where you use A to attack and you use B to block. And that's it. That's all the boss battle minigames. That's all the minigames that use this horrible boss battle concept I hate so much. Are you enjoying this video so far? If you are, and you agree with me, hit that subscribe button for more. So, now that we've gone over this horrible concept and each of the minigames themselves, how can we fix these boss fights? How can we make them work more like how boss battles in general are supposed to be? The answer is very simple. Players can lose points when they take damage during a boss battle, and they're able to take this penalty a potentially unlimited number of times, and the boss has a health bar of its own. So the answer on the surface is very simple. Basically, you give each player their own health bar, or set of health points. When a player gets hit, they may lose points or not. But either way, that player loses health points. When they take too much damage, they're eliminated and they can't participate anymore. With the ranking system in place, the first player eliminated would get 4th place, the second 3rd, the third 2nd. If points are not taken into account, surviving players get ranked by points. But if they do matter, being eliminated it just means being unable to participate further, and losing the possibility of getting the last hit bonus. Though it is possible for an eliminated player to have more points than a surviving player. But anyway, the biggest catch here is actually losing the boss fight the way it's supposed to be lost. If every player is eliminated, the boss wins and nobody gets any points. This is the equivalent of actually losing a boss battle traditionally the way you're supposed to. Or they could just penalize players based on who was eliminated first, or ever. But the idea of a boss fight ending in a draw sounds much better. If the lost boss fight takes place on a board map, everybody gets a penalty and then they can try again. If the boss fight is lost by all the players too many times, then the board map ends there and the final results are tallied based on what everybody has left. That right there, that is how this very flawed concept of a multiplayer boss battle can be fixed to be more like an actual boss battle and less like a typical minigame. Okay, now let's go over some examples of boss battles done right. In Super Mario 3D World, players can work together locally or even online in the Switch port to progress through the game, including boss fights. That means everyone works together to beat the boss, the way a single player would. And the boss battles are designed to be balanced in whatever case. But nobody is competing with each other over each boss, and there is a possibility that the boss will win. Sure, there's a point-based rank system that ranks players at the end of each level, but this is for bragging rights, merely for bragging rights. It's not an incentive for players to turn on each other the way they already are in Mario Party's multiplayer boss battles. Are you enjoying this video so far? If you are, and you agree with me, hit that subscribe button for more. The Luigi's Mansion games are another shining example of clean, cooperative, non-competitive teamwork. Two players can locally team up in the 3DS remake of Luigi's Mansion 1, or the otherwise single-player campaign of Luigi's Mansion 3, and players work together to take down boss ghosts in the later games' Scare Scraper modes. They work together, not against each other. However, that's not to say the Mario Party games don't have their own share of boss battles. The Mario Party games do in fact have their own share of single-player boss battles that can be won or lost, starting with the Stardust battle from Mario Party 3, then the mini-bosses and the final Bowser fight in Mario Party 4, the Bowser fight and the Super Duels in Mario Party 5, and so on. Mario Party DS and Mario Party Island Tour also had their own fair share of single-player boss battles, all of which fit the proper criteria of boss battles done right and perfectly. As bad as Mario Party Island Tour was, compared to the Battle Royale styled boss battles of Mario Parties 9, 10, and Star Rush, the boss fights of Island Tour were actually one decent thing about it. Now, let's take a look at the boss battles of Super Mario Party Jamboree, shall we? Oh, come on! This is the exact same stupid boss battle concept that I have been complaining about, the same concept that I have been ranting about, the same concept that I have been besmirching, taking jabs at. This is the same stupid concept! Has Nintendo learned nothing? When is Nintendo gonna learn that this is not how boss battles is? Wait a minute. Hold on. It looks like all the players are celebrating together. It looks like there's no ranking here. Huh, that's weird. Obviously, I'm just kidding. Unfortunately, the boss battle minigames of Jamboree play the same as coin collecting minigames in other Mario Party games. In coin collecting minigames, everybody's happy because they get at least one coin, but some players get more coins than others. Likewise, in these boss battle minigames, some players get more points than others. This type of boss battle is a little better, but unfortunately it still falls under the same horrible, flawed concept of what a boss battle is not supposed to be. Players can get what they can from the boss battle, but the boss is still going to go down anyway. The boss itself has no chance of winning, and there's no health bars amongst the players. It is still the same flawed concept that is supposed to be wrong, just done differently. Alright, so I tried Jamboree's Party Planner Trek mode, and I made some interesting discoveries regarding this horrible boss battle concept. Did they fix them? Yes, but there's a catch. In Party Planner Trek mode, you basically go around each of the 5 new boards, and you do favors for random generic NPCs, kinda like Mario Party Advance but with less flavor and less RPG-like elements. And the things you do also include gathering allies for each boss battle. See, you have to gather mini stars on each board, and once you get 30 mini stars on a certain board, you get to face the boss of that board. If that boss is battled on that board, you and your allies all work together to defeat the boss. You work together. Nobody's competing against each other. It may look like it, but you're not. You're working together to defeat the boss. And there's no final attack bonus either. When the boss is defeated, the minigame is finished, everybody's happy that the boss is dead, end of story. I did some testing in the boss battles of Mario Parties 9, 10, and Star Rush. It turns out that in Mario Party 10, you can run out of time. Time can run out if nobody can beat the boss quick enough. Everybody can lose. Or at the very least, everybody's ranked based on how many points they got, whatever. Likewise, in Jamboree, there is a timer. You can run out of time. You can fail the boss fight. When you lose a boss fight, the characters just give sad reactions and then it asks you if you want to do it again. Kinda lazy on Nintendo's part, but whatever. The fact that everybody's working together to beat the boss and that you can fail the boss fight, it actually fixes this broken concept. It actually makes boss battles the way they're supposed to be. Super Mario Party Jamboree actually fixed this horrible quote-unquote boss battle concept. At least that's what I thought until I went to Minigame Bay to play the boss battles. Turns out the concept of gathering allies and working together to defeat the boss and being able to fail only applies to the single player mode. But in the free play mode, the boss battles play the way they always have in 9, 10, and Star Rush. They play the way they have before. They play the way that I have been against. In fact, I'd like to share with you a little story. I was doing this boss battle against the giant rocky wrench. It was on free play mode, of course, not Party Planner Trek. And then I heard something, right as the boss battle finished up. What was it? Here it was.
Final attack.
What? What was that? What did you say?
Final attack.
What did you say?
Final attack.
Final attack.
When I learned that these Jamboree boss battles actually did have final attacks to them, that was the last nail in the coffin for me. That was when I went into a moment of rage. And when I say rage, I mean the wanting to break your controller kind of rage. I even recorded my reaction to this immediately after I heard it. Are you ready? Here it is.
What? Final attack? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Nintendo? I thought we were past this! What the hell were you thinking? Have you learned nothing, Nintendo? I thought you were past this! This is still the same formula from before!
And even though it is the same formula from before, soon after I recorded that, I realized something. I may not like the overall concept and execution of all these so-called quote-unquote boss battles, but there are people out there who do. And that's why Nintendo continued to do them over the years. At least in Super Mario Party Jamboree, these games are a little more justified. So after I got through Party Planner Trek, I got my boys together and I went over to Minigame Bay to try the boss rush mode. Work together? I disagree. Of course, technically we do still have to work together because it is possible to lose, but we're still going to be competing for bragging rights. I'm talking about that MVP thing Green Toad talked about. Now, if you don't mind, let's go over the boss battles in Mario Party Jamboree, starting with the Dragon Eel. The Dragon Eel boss battle is split into 3 parts. First, everybody collects shells on the water. Then, everyone has to avoid the Dragon Eel's whirlpool. Finally, players have to mash that A button to fire as many of their shells as they can at Dragon Eel before he goes back into the water. I like this boss battle for its unique concept, but it can be stressful if you're running out of time. The next boss, the Mega Sting Bee, the boss itself feels just like the giant Mecha Koopa all over again. And the boss battle itself feels like the giant Goomba all over again. I'll be honest, when I played this boss in boss rush mode, I was actually worried that we would not be able to take down the boss in time. But we did! So what if we're still competing in some way, shape, or form? We still have to beat the boss anyway. Now the Rocky Wrench boss. Another example of terrible concept, brilliant execution. Giant generic enemy with unique battle mechanics. Then again, it is an awful lot like the blooper battle from Mario Party 9, but I'm not complaining. The Sumo Bro boss battle was when I really thought Nintendo turned the tide with this whole flawed concept of boss battles. Basically, everybody has to complete an electric circuit before time runs out, and the scoring is based on who does it first. Players are timed on completing the electric circuit, and that made me think this whole boss battle was timed. But it turns out that if the bottom timer runs out, all of the players that didn't complete the circuit just take a penalty. But the whole boss battle actually is timed. If this was boss rush mode, everybody would lose, but it's not, so the highest score wins. And the minigame itself, very unique and very brain busty, especially when you realize that not all players have the same layout, so you can't really rely on other players to help you with the puzzle. The mini Sumo Bros tampering with your puzzle during the second half makes it even more interesting. Great boss battle, but I do want to point out that the system can be against you with regards to things like the final attack because of the player order. Same as with the Monty Mole fight in Mario Party 10, where the player order matters with who gets the final attack, or rather the order in which players attack the boss. The last battle is against Imposter Bowser. It's not the real Bowser, but it still feels like it. What players do here is they charge up their rocket boards in order to attack Imposter Bowser. The more charged up they are, the more damage they do. And of course they have to dodge Imposter Bowser's attacks. But that's pretty much the main gist of this battle. But this battle has something to it that was never done before. Remember in Mario Party 10 where the battle against Bowser turns into the battle against Dry Bowser during the second half? Well, when Imposter Bowser is down to half its health, Kamek comes by and rejuvenates Imposter Bowser, restoring his health completely. Something that has never happened before in any Mario Party multiplayer boss battle. It's not as cool or awesome as when Bowser became Dry Bowser in Mario Party 10's boss battle, but it's okay, it's still great. What's more interesting now is the perspective changes. But everybody still charges up their rocket board to attack Imposter Bowser with. If you get him down to half his health again, he'll come even closer to the screen and he'll attack you personally. And just because this is the last boss battle in Jamboree, the final attack is worth 10 points. 10 points! What the heck? Doesn't matter. It's over. This victory in Jamboree's boss rush mode came with a price. Sure, I defeated every boss, but at what cost? I had to compete against my friends who were helping me defeat the boss. I'll take the victory, but the fact that I still had to compete against other players against a boss that's probably going to die anyway, the real victory is being able to beat the bosses at all, not being MVP. That's why this victory feels so hollow. But like I said, there are people out there that like this boss battle format. People out there that actually disagree with most of what I've said in this video. If you have something you'd like to say to me, I'm very interested to hear about it. So please, feel free to talk about any of this and share your thoughts with me in the comments below. The Mario Party games released in the early 2010s were some of the most lackluster Mario Parties, perhaps more so than Mario Party Advance. But this concept of a multiplayer boss battle is just one of the many things that these Mario Parties did wrong in trying to give us something new. They shouldn't even be called boss battles, they are really just minigames that look and feel like boss battles when they're not. Thankfully, Nintendo never got it wrong with single-player Mario Party boss battles. And of course they can't. It's one player versus the boss. What other choice is there? Mario Party Jamboree found a way to fix this bad concept and make it so anybody who likes the concept can still enjoy it. It helps that you have a limited amount of time for each boss. It just goes to show Jamboree has something for everyone. So next time you try one of these boss battles in Mario Party 9, 10, or Star Rush, you think about everything I just explained and even go over this video, and I hope you'll come to understand what those boss fights really are. Next time you play Mario Party 9, 10, Star Rush, or even Jamboree, you think about this video. You remember this video. You remember everything I said. You remember everything I covered in this video. Mario Party games and their boss fights, as mixed as they are just one of the many things I cover about gaming on this channel. Don't forget to check out one of my other videos, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button for more. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll enjoy my other videos too. Happy gaming!